there was a really interesting article in The Guardian, and it was written by an author by the name of Nesrine Malik. And she was commenting about the lack of diversity among journalists in the British media. I found this article really interesting. She talked a lot about the comment awards. That there weren't on the nominees list. There wasn't a single person of color, and on the British Journalism Awards, not a single judge was black or a minority. I don't know any. I'm not a journalist except for this blog that I just started, so I can't really comment on that. But there was an interesting aspect to the article that I really wanted to touch upon, because she mentioned the differences between what happens in America and what happens in England. And because I am a black American and I live in England, I wanted to talk about it. I personally believe that there aren't enough journalists who are black in the media. So therefore, I agree with her on that point. But she talks about the journalists who are black and in England being pigeonholed into talking about black issues. Now this is where I think the two of us kind of separate, because I don't think that there are enough. At least I don't think there are enough black media officials speaking about black issues in England. I mean, if you go online and you look, there's only really one black newspaper in all of England, and if it wasn't for that paper and me speaking about black issues, I mean, where would black media be? Where would black issues be spoken about? And I know that there is always a fear of being pigeonholed, and let's keep it real. There's not a lot of money in black news, so there's also maybe a little bit of fear of being pigeonholed into that industry. But I think it's an industry that needs to be expanded upon. Just yesterday, maybe getting a little off tangent, but just yesterday there was a video I posted about David Cameron and him taking pictures with people who donned themselves in blackface. Barely a single peep about this incident. In America, there would be so much outrage. You would have black journalists who would be speaking about it incessantly. There would be no way that it could just have blown over the way it did. Like, oh yeah, the Prime Minister just cheesing up with people in blackface and that's going to be fine. But yeah, okay. But anyway, to get back to the article, I think that, as I said, there aren't enough black people in media speaking about black events. Now, I would find it a little weird if you have, say, majority black issues being reported on by people who aren't black. I think though it could be an interpretation that that reporter might have a little bit of bias, or might not be able to understand the issues. Now, a black journalist would be better able to grasp the issues at hand and speak about it more openly. And in speaking about the difference between how the Americans approach it and how the UK approach it, where in America there's no qualms about saying, yeah, there's not enough black people represented in this industry and it needs to change, and therefore, and making that change happen. Where here in the UK, everybody's just sort of too timid to come out and say, well, I'm black and I'm not represented in this industry, and where's the representation going to be happening? You don't find it in the people who consume the news demanding more from the news outlets. You don't see people who also the same people consuming the news talking about their issues of their communities not being reported on, and the journalists aren't speaking to their bosses and saying, well, this needs to change. Furthermore, you need to have people who are moving up the ladder. I think it's the most important part of changing an industry, and at least the racial makeup of it. Now, when it comes to the Comment Awards and the British Journalism Awards, it's not that I think that the reason why there are no black nominees on the list because the people who nominated or did the nomination process were inherently racist. is who you know. So therefore, an affirmative action program that happens in places like America that forced management to be represented by people who make up the community. Until that's going to happen, you're going to have the same results. The people are going to be nominating people who they feel comfortable with, people that they know, people that they're familiar with, people that they see. And if they don't see people of color, tough day for people of color. You're not going to get the nomination, and that's just the way the world looks. So I'm glad she pointed out the differences in how achievements, or to say upward mobility, at least on the career ladder, is achieved in the United States and how it is achieved in England. In England, I think minorities need to be a lot more forceful in saying what they want and being represented in management. If you're not represented in management, tough day for you and tough day for the people who are going to come after you.